That's a big problem with heaven. So what I am saying to you is that, you know, God is dealing with me now. I'm going like, I'm getting these magazines and reading about the things that are happening because God is taking me into places where I'm ministering to Miss Americas. How many of you know I cast out demons with Miss America 2 weeks ago? Y'all ain't helping me up in here. Now, she's not the current Miss America, but she wasn't too long ago. But she busting devils. God is doing something, and me and Miss America, we don't have nothing in common. In the natural. But in the spirit, we clicked. We were doing a television show, and she was standing there with a scarf around her head at the desk, and I was standing at the desk with a scarf around my head, and she was checking in, and I was looking at her, and she was looking at me, and she said, "I'm interviewing you." And I was like, "You got the right one." And me and her just hung out. I promised Danny, we're all in our room hotel. I was like, "Miss America, you act like we've been knowing each other forever." It's just like that. See, because when you build relationships in the spirit, I ain't got to be around you 50 years and deal with your nasty attitude for 49, and we have one good year before Jesus returned. Hey, either you like me or you don't. What you see is what you get. You don't have to hang around me a long time to figure it out. What you see is what you get, and that's why God hates the form of godliness, because it's nothing but a hypocritical spirit. It's a spirit like a lizard that change colors with its environment. And God is raising up a generation that is not about that, because it's not about me. The reason why we change color with our environments is because we're worried about what somebody else will say about us, but it's not about you. Listen to this. I got a Vogue magazine for the first time on the plane. And I'm like, God, Vogue? Okay. I searched that magazine 3 or 4 times. What is it? I saw a couple of pair of boots I like. But you know, I need a word from the Lord. I got a whole closet full of boots, God. Why Vogue magazine? And I looked in there, and they had an article on ego tripping, narcissism. Narcissus was a Greek god that looked down into the water and fell in love with himself. He was so bound until he died there looking at himself. And how many of you know that if you don't get your eyes off yourself, and you know what? I study and see, Sigmund Freud said that a narcissist, he wiped them off. He gave them up. He said they cannot be cured. In other words, Sigmund Freud said narcissism demons can't be cast out. Now, wait a minute now, but modern psychiatrists, they will work with it. I'm telling you, get Vogue magazine this issue. They will work with it. If you don't believe the Bible when I'm preaching, maybe you'll believe Vogue. Y'all saying that, but you know what? We believe more in what's in USA Today than what is in the word of the Lord. But they do agree that this type of, and they call it a personality disorder, is the hardest to deal with, the love of self. So I want to relate this to the apostolic. And I got some teaching, but listen to this. Now, one of my members ran up to me, and I went over to the house to pick my son up, to pick my daughter up, And he just threw this tape and said, take this tape out of my house. If the children watch it one more time, I don't care what you do with it, just get it out of my house. And I looked, and it was the life story of the Temptations. And for some reason, see, you can't be religious. Because if you're religious, you will always miss God. Because religion only looks at the appearance. The word vogue, you know what the word vogue means? The word, I said, let me get my notes. Morphosis means fashion or appearance. Guess what? Vogue means fashion or appearance. So in other words, religion is a type of style in the church like vogue is a style in the world. Come on, somebody. We either in vogue or we in religion. I'm out of both of them. I'm in Jesus. Because it's in him that I live and move and have my very own being. Outside of God, I ain't nothing. Especially you preachers. Because we feel like the anointing don't come until we get the mic. But God want to kill that spirit because it's not about you. The Temptations. I sat up all night watching that movie, knowing God told me to go to bed early and get plenty of rest. No, really, listen to me. A secular movie that had a point that I could not sleep all night. The Holy Ghost was speaking to me about this movie. And it was, and you know, I grew up the Temptations. Oh, you better not have said nothing about the Temptation in our neighborhood. They had the Temptation walk and who? I had to get a temptation demon cast out of me. I be in my sleep. I can turn the gray skies blue. I can make it rain. Come on. Whenever I wanted to. Some of y'all looking at me, but Temptations. Anybody in here do not know the Temptation? Raise your hand. Thank you. Some folks so saved, they don't even know where their mailbox is. But listen, I saw this movie. I'm quickly going because I got some word I want to give you. There was two guys that started this group, and they were trying to get into Berry Gordy, who started Motown with an $800 loan from his family members. One guy started that had the vision. He was a set man, but he was never up front. They always had leaders, the lead singers like Eddie Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks and David. I didn't know their names, but I knew the brother's face. I promise you I could sing their songs backwards and forwards. But what I'm trying to say to you is, all I knew was the Temptation. But when I saw this movie, I found some very significant things out. Listen, David Ruffin got a big head, and he started saying, without me, this group ain't gonna last. So he started putting demands on the group. He was slothful. He didn't want to do his part. He came in at the last minute because he thought he was the star. But what this group did was they fired David Ruffin. It's getting interesting. All of the superstars were falling off.